Thank you very much, Nick. It's a pleasure to be here. I really have nothing to do with Seth's accident. But I really, I'm grateful for the opportunity to talk to you today, or we both are. Following Alan is going to be hard. It was great material. I think the lessons that you've got here, they're extremely important. Our students should hear them because I think this applies to them as well. I think we work somewhat towards them being productive and good teams and strong teams. But it happens even the graduate students that we work with, that they're not capable of managing their time as good as they should. So I think these messages, they're truly important for everybody. Okay, today I'm here with my good colleague Simon. We both run a unit called Software Product Engineering at the University of Bristol. The unit's been going on for a while. We've got another colleague here, Ian Hollier from the University of Bristol. He's been working with us on this unit. And the work that we do there is receiving a lot of buzz at the moment, and we think we'd like to share that with you. Now, we want to be part of the software engineering community here. We're here to listen to what you have to say about software engineering, but we also think that's an exciting story to tell. Okay, so I'll be handing over to Simon in a moment, and then he will talk about why this unit is important. Then I'll talk a bit about how we run this, and then they'll come back and tell you a bit more of how to get involved into this as well. Okay, so Simon, did your degree prepare you for your first day at work?
This seemed like a really good question when we were designing the slides, but I've noticed that there's a couple of my ex-students here. So I'm just going to kind of look in this direction. Okay, the question is, did your degree prepare you for your first day at work? So a little show of hands. Okay, where did you go?
What degree? No degree.
Okay. Who didn't go to university? Whose University of Life? Okay, good. And whose degree is not at all related to the work that they do? Okay, so there's a couple of it. Okay. Now, the reason I ask this question is a common criticism levelled at universities is that we don't produce students who are immediately suitable to the work of industry. And what I thought it'd be really nice to do is try and understand why that is the case. What are the challenges that face us at universities in producing students who fit into those work environments? And a lot of it boils down to the fact that a lot of our assignments that we create for students are, by their very nature, sand-pitted, safe environments. Pretty much any assignment we write, when we come up with an exercise for students to do, have to adhere to the following rules, these kind of implicit rules. They need to be certain and predefined. We need to tell students in advance what we expect them to do. There needs to be marking criteria set out so that they know what they're going to do, what they have to do to get a first or 2-1. Okay, so we need to predefine those assignments. There needs to be stable and fixed objectives. We can't shift the goalposts. I tried this once. Wouldn't it be a great idea if we got them to make a video of their product halfway through the unit? Yeah, that didn't go down well. Okay, so you can't shift those objectives because they won't wear it. Everything needs to be achievable in the given time frame. It's all very heavily deadline driven. You can't shift a whole cohort of students' deadlines by a couple of weeks because they have other deadlines that they have to adhere to as well. So everything must be achievable within a given time frame. Also, it must be achievable with the things you've taught them. You can't expect students to do work using technologies and techniques that you haven't taught, particularly if it's an exam. People tend not to like that. It's got to be fair, otherwise they throw cucumber at you. As Alan pointed out earlier, you need to be fair. These are students who are paying quite large tuition fees every year, and you can't advantage certain groups of students over others. You need to have a level playing field. Okay. Because if we don't do all of these things, you know what? They let us know quite quickly if they're not happy, which is the way it should be. Okay. Now, the problem is that in the real world, in real-world development, none of the above is true. Let's just flick back to this slide. Think about the project that you're currently working on, or maybe the project you've just finished. Okay, and ask yourselves the question, was it certain and predefined? Were there fixed objectives? So you knew exactly what you were going to be doing for the whole of the project. There was no slippage, there was no requirements creep, there was no mission creep. Okay, was it perfectly achievable in the time that you had available?
Except for the first 2 years.
Okay. Presumably you had all the skills that you needed, all the technical knowledge in advance. Some people might have heard of Stack Overflow. I don't know if you've ever used that for development work. Anyway, and as we know, the world tends not to be particularly fair. And so the problem is, all of the things that we hold true for assignments that we give to students don't work in the real world. And as we can see, university assignments are in fact an unrealistic compromise that we have to come up with in order to make education work and to keep the students happy, all for the sake of this cucumber enticing fairness. Okay, but does it have to be like that, is the question. Is there another way? What can we do to try and solve this dichotomy? The approach that we've been using at Bristol University is derived from something called authentic learning. And the idea of authentic learning is to get students doing realistic activities in real-world contexts. Okay, so you try and make that learning experience as real as possible. Various different things we can do to try and achieve that. Well, first of all, group work. So there's an awful lot of individual work at university, but you tend to work as teams, as development groups in the real world. So let's do a little bit of group work. Rather than coming up with kind of trivial academic challenges, let's give them real-world technical problems to solve. Okay. Let's not give them a 2-week turnaround for the assignments, which is often what happens. You know, you teach a course, at the end of the course, you've got maybe 12 weeks, 10 weeks of lectures, and 2 weeks to do an assignment. Yeah, that doesn't really happen in the real world. So what we're doing is we're using the entire year, I say year, academic year. We have those long summers which we enjoy. We're using the two semesters and using that entire time for development work. Okay, so it's a longitudinal study. We're engaging real-world clients. Dan is going to talk a lot more about this in some later slides. But we're actually getting people from the public sector, the private sector, local charities. We're getting them involved as clients for this group work, for these team work. Because Dan and I could come up with amazing hypothetical problems, but they're not grounded in reality. And by taking people who are from the real world and getting the students to work with them, you end up with this much more authentic experience. And the nice thing is they bring with them things that we can't introduce. Uncertainty. Okay. It's a great experience working in a situation with all uncertainty. But if Dan and I try and inject that into the project, then we get slated by the students on their review. The lecturers didn't know what they were doing. Whereas clients don't know what they're doing. That's fine, we're used to that. They then have to deal with things like compromise and evolution and all of those really good things that those kind of softer skills that you have to learn that it's really hard for us to introduce without looking like we don't know what we're doing. Okay. And the really nice thing about this is I had one student who came to me the other day and said, this is the 5th time we've learned about Agile. Okay. And I turned around to him and said, yes, but this is the first time you've realized why it's good. Okay. Because you can do as many lectures as you like talking about Agile, but until you have to use it in the real world, until you have to use it to deal with uncertainty, compromise, evolution, only then do you realize why it's so powerful and why so many people like it. But I know, I can hear what you're asking. What are the benefits of doing all of these things? Maybe Dan would like to talk about that for a moment.
Yes, Simon, thank you very much. Okay, so there are a bunch of benefits, as you can imagine. The first one I'll mention here is appreciation. If you have real-world clients, there is someone who hopefully benefits from this project. We've got some amazing students at the university, and during their learning, they're already creating value. We've got some students who have got apps in the App Store with 80,000 downloads before they even arrive at the university. And there are organizations that are not technical. I'll talk about some of them. Charities, they will benefit from this. And so they will show their appreciation to those students. An example here, this is a screenshot from an application that a team of students built for a junior doctor at the NHS. They suffered from inefficient handover between doctors during shifts. And the systems that they had in the NHS Trust, they were clunky, they didn't do the job. The team of students went in, they observed what was going on, they did a case study, they created some prototypes with wireframes, they worked with focus groups, and then they created this prototype tool and showed it to the NHS contacts, and it didn't get implemented straight away, but it can be a tool to start a conversation around changing processes, introducing something else. Another example, or another benefit, they are actual users. So if you're implementing Dijkstra, no one cares about your implementation or your implementation of Dijkstra in Java. If you're building a system at scale for someone, there are actual users who want to use it. Here's another example. We've had two teams working with the Grant Appeal, who are a charity here in Bristol, trying to raise funds for the Bristol Royal Infirmary and Children's Hospital. And they are running a trail. There's a trail application where you follow. You're probably familiar with it. Walk around Bristol and go and visit the statues of the Grommets, etc. They provided an augmented reality module into the application for the Grant Appeal. £1.6 million were raised through the application, and they helped make that application a bigger success. So real users, incredibly motivated teams. Here's a quote. The students were lovely to work with, and every additional amendment we asked for, they delivered. Within the scope of what the project, the time that we allow the students to spend is possible. We've got very talented students, and they were just the right team for that project. Next example, genuine excitement. Here is a screenshot from an event that we held at the university, where we invite the public to look at the projects that the students built. Here we see is there a laser point? This little scaffold here, it holds a Kinect. The team of students built a visitor counter for the museum. Mark Pajak, our client, our contact there, was extremely enthusiastic about what our group of students built. He said something like, I would have given them 6 stars if it was possible. Over the moon.
Out of 5. Just
often, yeah, out of 5. We've got some non-technical clients there that are just so amazed and inspired by what these students come up with. Consultancy, fantastic success story. Another team of students. Ian is nodding because everybody knows of Teddypole. They built an app for Alan Roberts from Life Science, an emeritus professor who dedicates his pension to the study of tadpoles. And he wanted to do outreach and help children learn more about tadpoles. The students build an app, a game, with just, go on the App Store, look at the graphics, stunning assets. They delivered something from start to finish. They built a game that had the logic right, that was educational. You really took something about the life of tadpoles from it, and it was really entertaining. they were so successful, it turned into a consultancy, and they used the technology, their skills and approach to build different and similar games for other universities. And lastly, this is just another example of this project being gold dust for the CV of the students. Yeah? When you're hiring someone, you're asking, can you show me some examples of practical work you've done? It's always the SPE projects that the students are pointing to. Yeah? They are working, and I've got a slide now with example clients that work with us. We've got the Bristol Surplus Food Collection and Delivery. I'm mentioning that first because we are very proud and keen of working with charities and not-for-profit organizations to turn that value that the students can create in their learning and do something and contribute to greater good with it. We've got the Environment Agency. Since many years, they come back every year and have students try out ideas with them. Bristol Museum and Art Gallery is also a very loyal organization that comes back, and they know how to work with us, and they know what projects work well. At Bristol, I mentioned Grand Appeal, but we also have international organizations, Oracle, we had Just Eat, Geisten, and many others. So that's the project. Your tech people, I'll tell you a bit about the technology, the curriculum that we deliver. The unit is anchored in the overall program of what the students go through as the one place where they learn about object-oriented software engineering. So we talk about requirements, design, implementation, test, the whole shebang. We talk about DevOps. We provide them with agile, test-driven development approach, continuous integration, continuous development. It's all part of this. They work in the cloud. We use very generous cloud credits for infrastructure donated by Oracle, and we tell them about how to evaluate. There's some UX-driven elements in the curriculum that we deliver. And the students have mentors. Each group has one more mature student who has gone through SPE the year before to meet with every second week, and they can share their experiences and frustrations and conflict. Whereas uncertainty, there is conflict. It's something that we embrace. There's a sort of a ladder of escalations that we can work through in order to deal with conflict, and the students come out of this more mature and more ready to work in organizations. And this is the semester, or the 2 semester that Simon mentioned. We start at the beginning of October with an allocation of the projects where the students express their preferences for the projects that we offer them. And then there's a Pareto optimal selection process. And then it goes into the first meeting with the client. They work on a portfolio where they are trying themselves out on acquiring the software engineering concepts and skills that we theoretically talk about, and they interpret those in the context of their projects, and then they write about it. And meanwhile, they're using all of these design documents that they're creating in the construction of a minimum viable product. Then they go into a holiday, and when they come back, they've got a couple of sprints to work on the beta version, and then another set of sprints to then prepare a release. And then they've got a couple of weeks to update the portfolio, and then they go into a Viva where we sit down with them and we talk about their experience of going through this project unit. That's it from me. Just in a moment. We're almost done.
I know what you're thinking. When are they going to shut up? No. This sounds really good. But what can I get out of it? It's good for the students, but what do we get? Well, there's various reasons that our clients get involved. Over the past, we've talked to them, why are you interested in, why have you engaged with this project? Sometimes it's because they want to explore a particular prototype. Maybe there's not enough resource to look at a piece of technology. It's really nice to get our students to explore that for them. Sometimes that will then lead on, so it can be a prototype which can then be used to gather more funding. So we've had companies in the past who have developed an app alongside the students, and they've then taken that in order to get more funding, some real money, in order to develop that into a product. One of my least favorite phrases in the world, recruitment pipeline. I have to use it an awful lot. It hurts. It's really important to some people, some organizations, when they're getting involved in this activity. They want access to the best students, okay? The best graduates who are who are finishing their studies and going out into the world of work. How do you get to them before anyone else does? Okay, by getting involved in these projects. Often what will happen is these students will end up doing internships. There's been a couple of companies this year, and there's been a rollover of projects into summer and even whole year internships. Slightly interesting twist. It's an opportunity for you to educate yourselves. So maybe you've got some budding team leaders who really love an opportunity to flex their management muscles, their team organization muscles. But maybe you don't want to risk it on an internal project. Why not unleash them on a group of 4 students?
We need to talk about your line.
Sorry?
We need to
What's my pitch? Okay. But no, honestly, seriously, it's a really good way of developing budding team leaders by giving them access to groups of students, kind of keen, motivated students. Or maybe it's just because you want to give back. You've been through the system, you've benefited from the community, and you want to pitch back and help the next generation of developers. Often people want to do that. Okay. Maybe you've got some ideas about a project. Dan and I are here throughout the pizza, so if you want to come and chat with us about possible ideas for projects.
And we've got some clients here who've already gone through the experience.
Gone through the process. But what makes a good project? Okay, there's things that we find work really well. There's things that don't necessarily work particularly well. This is not definitive. There are other projects that we've had that work perfectly well, but generally ones along this line work quite well. Some kind of interactive application, whether that's a mobile app, desktop, or web app. Some kind of data storage. Don't forget, our students have been studying their Database 101 unit, and they'd really like to employ that in a real-world project. It makes the system a little bit more substantial if there's some sort of data store or data stream that they can engage with as well. Okay. The important thing is it's a development project. Very unlike a lot of other assignments that they get at university, it's not a research project. We're not lining them up to be PhD students. It's about development. Okay. And so we're not looking for these students to do an awful lot of academic research. We are interested in them investigating your domain, your area of expertise, your world. And we're also interested in them working with your users, engaging with real users who are going to use the system in order to understand their needs and employ that in the system. So it's kind of research, but not in an academic sense. And what we'd really like them to do is have an opportunity to explore various issues and make design decisions. So not an obvious thing, not a kind of easy choice to make, but exploring the various different options and making an informed choice about how they go about implementing their solutions. Okay. One final thing, don't forget, students come in a range of abilities. And often what we find is a project that is flexible in terms of scale and scope works really well. So something with a basic minimum viable product, something small that they can deliver and every team can achieve. But maybe there'd be a bunch of additional extensions you could add in that make it a little bit more ambitious, so that the mid-range students could achieve and deliver something. Not forgetting the possibilities of really nice extensions at the end, so that the really ambitious, the really high-achieving students don't get bored and get lost along the way. Something for them really to be stretched along the way. This is really hard to embed within a project, but Dan and I are here to try and advise about how we might go about doing that within your project ideas. thank you very much for listening. As I say, Dan and I are here throughout the pizza session. We are now open for questions, if you wish.
So you started off saying what your students normally do to get a degree. Are you saying this is an alternative or additional, or?
This is something that's additional to try and make their qualification more relevant.
Can you repeat the question?
Okay, so the question was, is this something alternative to their standard mode of education, or is this something that's embedded within it? And basically it's something that we're trying to augment their current degree scheme with, so that when they leave us, when they graduate, they hopefully have more transferable skills and a bit more useful.
I was just wondering how much of the client is involved in the actual assessment. Do you engage with the client when you're trying to judge how well they've done?
So the question was how much the client is engaged in the assessment, and the answer is very little, because the client is not trained and not authorized to pass marks out. Yeah, we seek the feedback from the clients, but the client is not actively marking. Yes.
Why is there a sloth on the screen?
This is so we can tell. If I go back a couple of slides, you can see whose slide it is. Dan is the sloth, and I am the pain au chocolat.
You're the pain au chocolat.
Yeah. So.
Oh, that's right.
Rather more focused.
I'm glad I asked.
How do you manage team dynamics? From the previous talk we had, it was about how teams work together and how leadership works. How do you manage that in your projects, where you bring a group of people together, students together, and how that they effectively self-create a team?
Exactly. Do you want to have a go at this first?
Okay. So the question was, how do we manage team dynamics, and how do we help students who have just been brought together to work together as a team? What we do is Dan and I act as almost CEOs for the organisation. We then have a layer of what I like to think of as middle management team leaders in the shape of our previous year's students who have come back to mentor those groups. It's quite a large cohort of students. We're talking 30 teams of 4 or 5 students. Within each of those teams, there's then also we get one particular student to be nominated as a team leader within that team, and communication goes through that. So it's
How do you manage how do you pick a team leader in the team? I mean, that's quite a difficult.
so often there's an alpha developer who will emerge obviously within the team. Sometimes Dan and I.
That's not obvious. When you say an alpha, actually, what you really don't want is for the alpha developer to be leading the team, because they're going off doing their own thing and not carrying anybody along with them. What you actually want is a team leader to lead the team, and the alpha developer to follow the team leader.
Which is why we have the mentor structure.
But this naturally happens, that the teams, first of all, they self-assemble. Yeah? We've got, in the first week, we provide a list of projects that the students look at. They express 3 preferences. We take those 3 preferences and then we really apply a Pareto optimal matching algorithm in order to create those groups. Because
that sounded very impressive. What you mean is you guess.
No, yes, you think. Well, there's some magic that happens in between, but there's really an engine that all these choices go into, because it was installed in response to criticism from the students that we were somehow crafting super teams, and so that
I have this rule that every mechanism for forming teams is unfair. There isn't a good way of forming teams.
Yeah.
The problem is, if we do it, we're to blame, which I don't want. If we let the students do it, then they're to blame, which they don't like. And so what we do is we use a piece of software to do it, and they all blame the software, and everyone's happy.
Yeah.
Everyone's equally on.
Yes, exactly, equally on.
What year are they doing this? Is this first year?
Second year, good question. We didn't mention it. This is second year. So it leads on from the Java course. They have Haskell Java in the first year, and we pick up and we restrict their choice of programming language to Java exclusively. Yeah, but to finish the story with team dynamics, we find that the self-assembly via preferences mirrors the situation that you find yourself in the workspace reasonably well. You go to a company, you don't go to a team of colleagues, of future colleagues. Yeah, and so in that same way, you find yourself with a bunch of people, and you have to act professionally with people that you haven't chosen. And that's the story, and the students, they really live up to this to a degree. Yeah. So this element of conflict that I mentioned before, that is normal, and I think that is normal in every workplace. When you do stuff, when you try to build something against resistance, then conflict comes up. But it's the learning that the students go through in the degree and in this unit in a safe environment that helps them deal better. Hopefully, I think really. When they go into the work.
It's interesting, we often get students telling us that this was the worst unit that they had just as they finished it, and then 3 years later they come and tell us it was the best unit that they had because it actually means something to them then.
How long have you been involved in this unit?
So I've been at Bristol. Oh, so how long have we been involved in this unit? I've been at Bristol University for 2 years, but before that I was down in Plymouth. Yay. Plymouth Massive? No, not so much. And I was involved in. That's fine. I was involved in a really similar unit down there for a couple of years. Dan has been here for longer than me.
Yeah, I took over 4 years ago together with Ian when we started. Yeah.
And we're almost getting it right. Not quite there.
So one of the things that the graduates that I hire tend to struggle with the most is picking up legacy code and legacy applications, not being able to see decisions that were made in rushed and realistic timeframes.
Yeah.
Have you considered taking on existing applications and doing feature development rather than all greenfield stuff where it's
So the question was, have we considered taking on legacy systems rather than greenfield development? Some of the projects are. Sometimes students will get an existing framework or an existing API or even an existing app, and they'll have to build on top of it.
They have to, but the emphasis is on top. They have to work with existing code, with existing APIs, but the systems that they construct, they will be new. And that's quite important. It's something, if we really solve that conundrum, it would be immensely powerful, but it's very, very difficult to get right if you give existing code to the students.
We've had conversations. Dan's really keen. I'm not so sure. Sorry, should I say that? Anyway,
yeah.
Dan's really keen on open source engagement, and one future vision is that students, all of the teams, will get on board with existing, ongoing open source projects and contribute to those. It gives us a little bit of structure in order to be able to assess their contributions, but it comes with a load of problems in terms of working out what they've contributed and what other people have contributed and what help they've had and what help they haven't.
So at risk of making everybody probably not like me in this room, actually, I run a boot camp. So I actually do that quite a lot. We bring on legacy projects and then get my students to build new features or fix bugs, all that kind of stuff. Have you considered talking to existing providers as to how they manage it and implementing their methodologies into what you do if you're a little bit apprehensive about doing it? There are existing places that already do it.
Fantastic. No, we haven't. Good to meet you. So let's talk.
let's have that conversation.
Yeah.
What's the profile of your students like? I'm looking around the room and how shocking it is. How's the gender parity and other diversity profiles? What's it look like?
Yeah, great question. So the answer is the question was what equality and gender balance do we have in our cohort? And it's I don't know the numbers. I think we've got 10% female students. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. It's not good. It's I think Yep.
I have come hot foot from a meeting today with some of my colleagues in computer science and engineering, and one of the initiatives we're running over the summer is a summer school called Changemakers for local female students to try and get them interested and involved. It's school age, so we found that if you target, well, it's too late at A level, and so we need to get, but there's a sweet spot in that if you get them too late, they've already made decisions. If you get them too early, they're not in a position to make those decisions, and so we're looking at sort of 16-year-old, 15, 16-year-old school kids, and getting them in, bringing in role models from industry, doing her stories about people's journeys through technical development, and trying to at least make a range of possibilities known, rather than trying to twisting arms to get them to come along. But it's a big problem that we have not solved.
Question over here.
Yeah.
Speaking of which.
Okay. Right.
Are the students exposed to setbacks, whether real or simulated, things like running out of time, budget, disagreeable stakeholders?
Sorry, could you repeat the question?
Are the students exposed to setbacks, whether real or simulated?
Okay, so the question was, are students exposed to setbacks that are either real or simulated, such as running out of time, conflicts, difficulties with the development? Absolutely, that's really big. My favourite story is we had one client who ran a charity, very small company. Students were building an app. Halfway through the term, they told the students that they were going on holiday and they weren't going to be contactable while they were away for 3 months, which is, it's a whole semester. You know what? Obviously, the students weren't overly happy with that situation, but we guided them through it. We helped them deal with that situation. Yeah. We navigated them through the year. And you know what? When they go to an interview and they're asked, can you tell us a time when you've had to deal with difficulties with development projects, that you won't be able to shut them up.
But that's really the catastrophic event if the client walks away, because the students need that resistance. They need to have someone who tells them, yes, we appreciate those features, but can you do this? So that can you absolutely they need that. Yeah.
We've even had situations where the client says, can you make it blue? So they make it blue, and the next week they go, well, we liked it when it was red.
Perfect. Yeah. You know. Perfect experience.
And if we did that, we couldn't do that. Yeah. But the clients can.
Their circumstances, everything else has failed in a project.
Yeah.
Okay, so the question was, in the real world, projects fail. How do we score a student when that happens within our unit? The way we tackle this is by looking at process. And so it's really difficult for us to evaluate an app that allows drivers to collect food for a food bank compared to a command line tool that monitors servers for security. Comparing the two is really, really difficult. So what we do is we work at a meta level, and we look at process. So we look at their design processes, their testing processes, how well they've worked together as a team, their communication, their whether they've been pair programming, whether they work together, whether they've individually gone off and done things and not talked to each other. So there's a load of things that we can assess whether or not the project is successful. Obviously, we'd like it if the project is successful, but there's a whole range of process-oriented and meta information we can gain in order to determine how well they've performed as the team.
The outcome is still part of the final mark. It's not all just process. There was some outcome, but we tuned the emphasis down.
We're using a project management tool and analytics to try and extract information about how they've worked over the whole term. Often students approach a unit with I'll go to the lectures and then I'll do the coursework at the end. And we tell them at the beginning of the year, that won't work with this unit. And of course, do they listen? Some of them do. And some of them try and do that at the end. They try and kind of work feverishly to get the job done. But we've got a year's worth of analytics, and we're able to see when they've had meetings, who's been contributing, what they've been doing over that period of time. And that's, as well as the product, we're using that to assess the students. I think we've got time for one more question.
I was just going to say, isn't that the greatest quality of a student, is their ability to get so much done in an incredible amount of time just before the deadline? I sometimes wonder if that's the best thing I ever learned.
So we try and discourage that heroic effort, because although it's useful sometimes, it's not good to be able to have to rely upon that. And what we want is, we want to deal with the hit by bus scenario, where if somebody in the development team for some reason can't work, then the rest of the team know exactly what's going on, and they can close ranks and they can push that project through. That's the kind of student we're trying to produce.
And this maybe ties back to what Alan said before. We are just blocking a day in the schedule, in their calendar, to work on this project. And not all the groups take that opportunity and work together, but those that do, it clearly shows that they form teams. They come to us in the Viva and they present themselves as a team, and the others that just work remotely, they're a bunch of individuals that worked on the same project.
My favourite dichotomy is, within education, is that most units, if you work together, that's plagiarism. Whereas in this unit, if you work together, that's success.
Okay.
We'll be around for pizzas.
Yeah.
See you later.